Welcome to the Deep Dive, the show where we cut through the noise and get straight to the insights. Today, we're plunging into a concept that's, well, it's resonated across cultures and centuries, promising a kind of universal path to clarity and peace.
We are. We're exploring something really practical, but also deeply transformative. The Four Foundations of Mindfulness, or, in the ancient language, Satipaṭṭhānā. And this isn't just like abstract philosophy.
Right.
It's direct instruction for cultivating a really engaged awareness.
Okay, so our mission in this deep dive is to pull out the most impactful insights from these ancient discourses. They're full of teachings, parables, dialogues, illustrating this core practice. We want to help you understand why it's been called a one-way path to ultimate liberation. Sort of a shortcut to really knowing your own inner landscape.
Exactly. And our source material here comes directly from these foundational ancient texts. They lay out these teachings with honestly remarkable clarity, lots of emphasis, sometimes through repetition, which is common in oral traditions.
Okay, so let's unpack this then. The very first thing these texts tell us about the Four Foundations.
It's their purpose, right? A pretty huge purpose.
Huge is right. It's explicitly described as, and I'm quoting loosely here, a one-way path for the purification of beings, overcoming sorrow, lamentation, the disappearance of pain and distress, attaining the right method, and ultimately the realization of Nibbana.
Nibbana, right, that ultimate freedom from suffering, the
Yeah.
cycle of rebirth. That's a massive claim. Does it really mean there are no other paths, or is it more like this path is the guaranteed one?
That's a really good question to start with. It doesn't necessarily shut down other preliminary practices, but the texts definitely highlight this as the direct, the unequivocal route. And this path involves contemplation, looking closely at four key areas: the body, feelings, the mind itself, and then mental phenomena, thoughts, emotions, that sort of thing. And to practice it well, the texts say you need to be ardent, so diligent, enthusiastic,
Right.
clearly comprehending, which we should definitely dig into.
Yeah.
And mindful, all while, and this is key, putting away covetousness and distress concerning the world. So it's not passive. Yeah. It's active, engaged.
That phrase, clearly comprehending, or sampajano, yeah, that really jumps out. It sounds like it's more than just, thinking about it. Can you give us some real-world examples from the sources? What does it actually look like?
Absolutely. And the sources are great here. They give incredibly relatable, almost mundane examples. It's about being fully present when going forward and returning.
Okay.
When looking ahead and looking around, when bending and stretching, like really basic movements.
Wow.
When carrying one's robes and bowl, when eating, drinking, chewing, tasting, even when defecating and urinating.
Seriously. So, everything.
Everything. When walking, standing, sitting, sleeping, waking, speaking, and being silent. It covers the whole range of human activity.
So, if I'm getting this, the real insight here is that this kind of deep presence isn't just for when you're sitting meditating formally. It's actually the paying close attention during all these everyday things. That's the real training ground. It sort of dissolves the line between practice and life.
You've absolutely hit on it. That's exactly the point. It's cultivating this discerning awareness in every single action, big or small, integrating mindfulness right into the fabric of your day.
Okay.
Now, you might think, wow, that sounds intense, overwhelming, maybe?
Yeah, a little.
So the texts also point out, some foundational steps. You don't just leap into it cold.
Ah, that makes sense. You need to build up to that level of total life mindfulness. Are there prerequisites mentioned, like things you need to get straight first?
Yes, absolutely. The ancient wisdom is very clear on needing a strong groundwork. Ethical conduct, that's sila, and what they call straightened views,
Yeah.
dihi, which basically means having a correct understanding of reality.
Oh.
These are explicitly called the beginning of wholesome qualities. The texts actually say you must reside grounded in virtue before cultivating the four foundations.
Right. It's like building a house, isn't it? You need that solid foundation first before you start putting up the walls and the roof.
Exactly that analogy. You need a stable starting point for any kind of profound practice.
So once that foundation is there, how wide is the scope of this practice? Is it just for, say, monks or advanced practitioners? And you mentioned contemplating internal or external.
Right.
What's that about?
It's remarkably universal. The contemplation, body, feelings, mind, phenomena, It can be internal, so focusing on your own direct experience.
Right.
It could be external, mindfully observing, say, another person's posture or expression, but without judgment, just noticing.
Huh?
Or it can be internal and external, recognizing these same patterns in both yourself and others, seeing the universality.
Yeah.
And what's really fascinating is the sources explicitly say that newly ordained practitioners,
The beginners.
the beginners,
Yeah.
and trainees aiming for the unexcelled security from bondage, so people seriously on the path, and even arahants who are fully enlightened beings, their defilements totally destroyed. All of them engage in this practice.
Wow, even the fully enlightened ones. Why?
Well, for different reasons. The texts say the newly ordained do it for knowledge, just getting to know their minds. Trainees practice for full understanding, going deeper. And arahants, they practice for continued dispassion and just abiding in that freedom. So it's like a continuous path of refinement, useful at every single stage.
Okay, that universality is striking. Which brings us to, the big why. Why is this practice considered so vital? What are the immediate benefits? And you mentioned it offers protection. I saw something interesting in the sources about, like, two opposing forces in the mind.
Yes, indeed. The texts frame it very clearly. It's seen as a direct antidote to mental blocks or hindrances, the 5 hindrances, sensual desire, ill will, laziness, or sleepiness.
Sloth and torpor, yeah.
Right. And restlessness, worry, and doubt. These 5 are explicitly called the entire heap of the unwholesome. They're the common things that cloud our minds, right? But in stark contrast, the 4 foundations of mindfulness are described as the entire heap of the wholesome.
Ah, okay.
So cultivating these foundations is presented as the direct way to counteract those hindrances, to move towards clarity.
And it gets even more vivid, doesn't it? The sources use these incredible stories, parables, to show the danger of not being mindful. There's one about a hawk and a quail.
Oh yeah, that's a powerful one. The story goes, the hawk can only catch the quail when the quail wanders outside its proper domain, its safe ancestral ground, like a plowed field where it can hide.
Okay.
And for us practitioners, the texts say the improper domain, the dangerous place, is the 5 sense objects. Sights, sounds, smells, tastes, touch. Especially those that are described as agreeable, pleasing, charming, delightful, connected with sensual desire, and enticing.
So basically, the things we tend to get hooked by.
Exactly. And the proper domain, the safe ground. That's precisely these 4 foundations of mindfulness. The warning is blunt. When you wander outside your proper domain, Mara gains an opening. Mara being, the personification of delusion or temptation.
Wow, so it's a metaphor for how easily we get snared when we're just lost in sensory experience without awareness.
Precisely. Heedlessness makes you vulnerable.
And then there's the monkey and the glue trap. That one sounds even more sticky.
It's very vivid tale, yeah. Almost comically tragic if it weren't so pointed. A foolish monkey finds some traps set with sticky glue. It touches one with its hand, gets stuck.
Oh, no.
Tries to pull free with the other hand, gets that stuck. Tries a foot, it gets stuck. The other foot stuck. Tries to push with its head.
Don't.
Gets its head stuck too, utterly helpless.
Oh, dear.
And this is contrasted with wise monkeys who see the trap and avoid it completely. And again, the texts explicitly link the improper domain, the danger zone, to those alluring 5 sense objects. The proper domain is the 4 foundations.
So the monkey getting progressively more stuck is like us getting tangled in desires and aversions when we react without mindfulness. The more we struggle blindly, the worse it gets.
That's the image, exactly. It dramatically illustrates the consequences of a mind that isn't grounded in mindful awareness when it encounters sensory stuff. It just gets more and more entangled.
So these perils, they really drive home that mindfulness isn't just a nice to have. It's almost like a survival skill for navigating the world of the senses, right? It's the difference between being trapped and being free.
That's a great way to put it, a survival skill in the landscape of sensory temptation.
Okay, so building on avoiding these pitfalls, how do the teachings then offer a roadmap for actually mastering your mind, going beyond just avoiding the glue traps?
Right, it's not just about avoidance. The texts highlight the cultivation aspect, using another really good simile, the skilled cook.
Ah, the cook, okay.
Imagine a foolish cook serving a master. He just throws food together, doesn't notice what the master actually likes or dislikes, what gets praised, what gets ignored. As a result, he doesn't get tips, doesn't get promotions, gains no real benefit.
Right, just doing the job badly.
Then compare that to a wise, skillful cook. This cook pays close attention, notices subtle signs, which dishes the master enjoys, asks about ingredients, learns the preferences. And because of this attentiveness, this cook thrives, gets rewards, favor learns the craft.
Okay, I see where this is going.
Exactly. The analogy is applied directly to practice. A foolish monastic, or any practitioner, really, who doesn't practice the Four Foundations, doesn't pay attention to their own mind. Well, their mind doesn't become concentrated. Defilements, those unwholesome states, aren't abandoned. They don't experience that happiness in this very life that comes from a clear mind, nor do they develop mindfulness as an enlightenment factor.
They're like the bad cook for their own mind.
Precisely. But the wise monastic, the one who diligently practices the Four Foundations, they observe their mind. They see what leads to concentration, what leads away. They see defilements arise and learn how to let them go. And as a result, their mind does become concentrated, defilements are abandoned, and they do gain those benefits, happiness now, and progress on the path.
So it ties mindfulness directly to tangible results, to well-being and growth. Neglecting it is like, yeah, being a bad cook for yourself. You just won't get the good stuff.
You won't get the desired outcomes, exactly.
The sources also go into something even deeper, don't they? About self-reliance, resilience, especially when facing loss. There's that really moving part involving the Buddha himself when he's ill, and then his chief disciples pass away.
Yes, that's a very profound teaching moment. The story goes the Buddha is unwell, and later, two of his foremost disciples, Sariputa and Moggallana, really wise, key figures, they pass away. And Ananda, who was the Buddha's loyal attendant for years, is deeply distressed, feeling lost, disoriented.
Understandably so.
Absolutely. He expresses this distress to the Buddha, and the Buddha's response is just timeless wisdom. He says something like, Ananda, have I not taught you that all things that are conditioned, everything that is born, come into being, compounded? It's subject to decay. How could it be otherwise?
A reminder of impermanence right when it hurts most.
Exactly. A direct pointing to the nature of reality. And then he gives this incredibly powerful instruction. Therefore, Ananda, dwell as islands unto yourselves, as refuges unto yourselves, with no other refuge.
Wow.
Dwell with the Dhamma as your island, with the Dhamma as your refuge, with no other refuge. The Dhamma meaning the teachings, the truth itself.
And he connects that directly, doesn't he? He says how you become an island unto yourself is by practicing the Four Foundations.
Immediately. He links that profound self-reliance, that inner stability that doesn't depend on external people or circumstances, directly to the practice of contemplating body, feelings, mind, and mental phenomena.
So this practice is the very method for building that inner island, that unshakable refuge within yourself.
Precisely. It highlights the Dhamma, embodied in these practices, as the ultimate reliable guide and refuge. It's about finding your ground internally, a ground that can withstand even profound loss.
That's incredibly powerful. And this path, it seems, isn't just presented as a way, but maybe the way for all enlightened beings, past, present, future. What's the core idea there?
Yeah, that's another fascinating layer. There's this dialogue where Sariputa, one of those chief disciples we just mentioned, expresses absolute unwavering confidence in the Buddha's supreme enlightenment, like, there has never been, nor will there be, nor is there now anyone more fully enlightened than the Blessed One.
Bold statement.
Very bold. And the Buddha kind of challenges him gently. He asks Sariputa, have you directly known the minds of all the Buddhas of the past? Do you know the minds of all future Buddhas? Do you even know my mind right now completely?
And Sariputa has to say.
He humbly admits, no, Lord, I haven't.
So where does his confidence come from then?
That's the brilliant part. Sariputa explains his confidence comes not from knowing every single Buddha, but from understanding the logical sequence of the Dhamma, the inherent pattern of the teaching. He uses this great analogy.
Okay.
Imagine a remote border city with strong walls and just one single gate. A wise, experienced gatekeeper is stationed there. He might not know every single person who enters or leaves, their names or origins, but he knows one thing for sure. Anyone who enters or leaves must pass through that single gate. There's no other way in or out.
Ah, okay. The gate is the essential point.
Exactly. And Sariputa says, in the same way, he knows the logical sequence. All Buddhas, past, present, and future, attain full enlightenment by doing certain things, specifically by abandoning the 5 hindrances.
Which we talked about earlier.
Right, and by fully establishing their minds in the 4 foundations of mindfulness. And then developing the 7 factors of enlightenment, things like investigation, energy, joy, tranquility, concentration, equanimity.
So those are the necessary steps, the gate everyone has to pass through to reach enlightenment.
That's his insight. His confidence is in the path itself, the Dhamma. It underscores this idea that the Four Foundations aren't just one teacher's idea, but a universal, timeless blueprint for liberation.
And the texts even suggest that the survival of the teachings, the Dhamma itself, depends on this practice.
They do, quite directly. There's a statement that the true Dhamma, the authentic teaching, endures long after the Buddha's physical passing if the Four Foundations are developed and cultivated by practitioners.
And if they're neglected.
Then, the text warned, the true Dhamma declines and eventually disappears. It really positions this practice not just as crucial for individual liberation, but for the very continuity and vitality of the wisdom tradition itself across generations.
Wow, that puts a lot of weight on it. And it's not presented as an all-or-nothing thing either, is it? You mentioned stages like trainees and arahants.
Right. There are clearly levels of mastery acknowledged. The texts talk about a trainee, the word is seka, who cultivates a part of the Four Foundations. This implies someone actively learning, progressing, developing the skill.
Still working on it.
Exactly. And then there's the practitioner beyond training, the aseka, which refers to an arahant, the fully liberated one. They are said to cultivate the Four Foundations completely. So it shows a progression, a path you walk.
Okay.
And we even get these glimpses of the potential heights of this practice. There's Anuruddha, another prominent disciple known for his divine eye, his clairvoyant abilities. He apparently stated that it was through developing and mastering these Four Foundations that he attained great supernormal knowledge, to the point where he could know 1,000 worlds.
1,000 worlds. That's extraordinary. It shows the profound depth of insight this practice can potentially unlock when taken all the way.
It really does. It points to possibilities far beyond just ordinary mental clarity.
So we've covered the heights of enlightenment and supernormal knowledge, but let's bring it back down to earth a bit. What about tangible results for, ordinary people in regular life, especially when things are tough, like dealing with illness? Are there examples?
Oh, absolutely. And this is really important. The sources don't just focus on monks and nuns. They share these inspiring stories of lay followers, like a householder named Siravattā and another named Manadina.
Okay.
Both of them, even while seriously ill, facing death, were visited by monks, or even the Buddha. And they affirmed, clearly and confidently, that they were diligently practicing the Four Foundations of Mindfulness.
Even while sick.
Even while sick, right into the end. And crucially, they declared that as a result of this practice, they had abandoned the 5 lower fetters. These are really deep-seated mental chains.
Like what?
Things like belief in a permanent self, skeptical doubt about the path, attachment to rites and rituals thinking they alone lead to liberation, sensual desire, and ill will. Getting rid of these is a major milestone.
And what does abandoning those 5 mean in terms of attainment?
It's hugely significant. According to the teachings, abandoning just these 5 lower fetters means they achieved the state of a non-returner, anagami. That means they wouldn't be reborn in the human realm or any lower realm again. They're headed for final liberation.
Wow. So ordinary lay people, through dedicated practice of the Four Foundations, even amidst illness, could reach such a high level of spiritual attainment in that very life.
Exactly. It makes the practice incredibly accessible and demonstrates its profound benefits aren't limited to renunciates living in monasteries. It shows real-world results for householders facing life's toughest challenges.
And it seems like this isn't just something you keep to yourself either. Is there encouragement to share this practice?
Yes, definitely. The texts explicitly include an instruction to share this teaching, the method of the Four Foundations, with your friends, acquaintances, relatives, and kin.
So teaching others mindfulness is seen as a good thing.
It's presented as a compassionate act. Cultivating these foundations helps you, yes, but sharing the knowledge helps others find their own path to clarity, peace, and freedom from suffering. It benefits everyone.
Okay, finally, let's circle back to the deeper understanding this practice unlocks. You mentioned seeing the arising and passing away of things. How does that work, and how does it actually lead to freedom?
Right. So as you consistently cultivate mindfulness of the body, feelings, mind, and mental phenomena, you start to see them not as solid, permanent things, but as processes. You directly observe their arising and passing away. Moment by moment, you see how sensations come and go, how thoughts appear and disappear, how moods shift.
Let's see the impermanence directly
in your own experience. And the sources go a step further, connecting this arising and passing to causes. They explain, for instance, that the body, as experienced, arises dependent on nutriment, food. Feelings arise dependent on contact, sense-object meeting, sense-organ meeting consciousness.
Yeah.
The mind, or consciousness, arises dependent on name and form. That's the psychophysical organism, mind and body working together. And mental phenomena like thoughts or intentions arise dependent on attention, on where you direct your mindfulness.
So it's not just seeing that things change, but understanding why they arise and cease based on conditions. It's seeing cause and effect within yourself.
Precisely. It's seeing dependent origination playing out in real time. And that understanding, that direct insight into impermanence and conditionality, that's what starts to loosen the grip of attachment.
How so?
Because when you truly see that these things, body, feelings, thoughts, are temporary, changing, and dependent on conditions, you naturally start to abandon clinging. You abandon desire, Chando, for them to be permanent or to provide lasting satisfaction. You see, they can't.
And letting go of that desire is the path to freedom.
That's exactly what leads towards realizing the deathless, Nibbana, the state beyond arising and passing. So ultimately, the four foundations are cultivated for this complete understanding, especially the three kinds of feelings: pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, which drives so much of our reaction.
Right.
And through that understanding, practice leads directly to the abandoning of the three defilements, the core ones being sensual desire, the deep craving for existence itself to continue to be, and fundamental ignorance about the true nature of reality, as well as those five higher fetters, the more subtle ones related to deeper states of being and conceit.
So it's a comprehensive path, tackling the root cause of suffering through direct mindful observation.
Absolutely. It's a complete system for liberation grounded in moment-to-moment awareness.
What a journey we've taken. The four foundations of mindfulness. They really do offer this incredibly comprehensive yet actionable framework. It's for navigating everything, isn't it? From just, working down the street to understanding the deepest nature of your mind right through to profound spiritual liberation. It really feels like a path for inner transformation, understanding, and ultimately freedom from suffering.
It truly is a timeless blueprint, you could say, for cultivating awareness in every single aspect of our lives, and one that's been validated, according to these texts, by enlightened beings across millennia. It's quite remarkable when you think about it that way.
It really is. So here's a final thought for you listening in. If cultivating this deep, mindful awareness of your body, your feelings, your mind, and all the mental stuff that comes and goes, if that really is the singular path confirmed by wise ones across time, what small step might you take today just to explore this one-way path a little for yourself?
Yeah, maybe just reflecting, how might a bit more self-awareness in these four areas actually bring more clarity, maybe more freedom into your own life? That could be a really valuable place to start.